The time is now 10:21 on the Pacific Coast, the west coast of the United States. The time is 06:21 GMT, and I am continuing my attempt to broadcast here because, God damn it, as much as I make how much I love Google and its ability to do certain things, it crashes an awful lot, so I'm not exactly necessarily thrilled with it. If you are just tuning into this program, there was about 20 minutes worth of programming before this that may be worth watching if you'd like me to follow up, but I'm going to pick up kind of where I left off, and hopefully you won't miss anything. What I was talking about was brain games, and that's what I'd like to watch with you right now, is some clips of my favorite, actually, it might be my second favorite show from HBO in the 80s. It was called Brain Games. It's not the Brain Games that's on the National Geographic Channel currently. It's, I think, in season 5, the modern one. And again, I wish they had done a better job of naming that new show, because I find it confusing when you're searching for stuff, and a million other problems sort of at play here. Brain Games number 2, part 1 is what we'll watch. I think you will enjoy it if you enjoy any kind of intellectual.
The following program television is called Brain Games number 2. The first was known to drive people bananas. This one makes them completely bonkers.
Innocent viewers often scream
at the sight and sound of some of the questions.
Just a moment, I'll bring it up here.
Wake me.
or those with a fear of failure are advised to refrain from viewing.
Parents should watch
Only at the discretion of their children.
I said no, Mom.
No, Mom.
So hold on to your thinking caps.
And let us begin.
Now this opening sequence, again, sort of manual analog animation type thing. This is not computer animated. And yet it looks good, you know?
And now, game number 1.
Okay, we'll watch game 1 here, and that's all. Oh, this is Tales of Rondovia.
Tales of Rondovia. This is the secret book of Rondovia, a place where everybody is out of sorts. And no wonder, because everything is out of time and place. To decipher the book's code, we will tell you tales, and you will tell us
their mistakes. Let's begin.
We now turn to the year 1596. Here is baby Pocahontas at her first birthday party. Her father, Chief Powhatan, has made an elaborate feast. At the party, there is one thing Powhatan could not have served his guests. Which one food could they not have eaten? Yummy rare roast beef, scrumptious boiled lobster, tasty roast squirrel, or super sliced turkey with all the trimmings.
Which could they not have had? Roast beef, lobster, squirrel, or turkey?
Well, Pocahontas could have poked her fingers into a lobster. There were plenty in the sea.
Plenty of lobsters, okay.
And Pocahontas could have poked at roast squirrel. And turkeys aplenty lurked in the forest. But the one food that could not have been served at her birthday celebration was roast beef. Because cattle were not native to America. There was no roast beef until 15 years later, when the colonists brought cattle from England.
Huh.
Now, let us flip to another page and another age. It is 1863. Honest Abe Lincoln is president. He can't get home for dinner because he's got to deliver a speech at Gettysburg. In order to get a message to his wife, President Lincoln could have used all these methods of communication, except one. Which one could he not have used? The telegraph, the railroad, the telephone, or the stagecoach?
I think this one's pretty easy.
Abe could have used the railroad, or sent his message by stagecoach. And yes, he could have wired by telegraph.
No shit, right?
But he could not have used the telephone, and not because he didn't have the right change. The telephone wasn't invented until 1876. By then, his dinner was stone cold, and Honest Abe was long since gone. We turn to another page, and who have we here? Martha Washington. It is 1776, and Martha wants to give her husband, General George Washington, a picture of herself to take on his travels. Which one of these following likenesses could she not have given to her gallant general? An oil painting, perhaps a dainty silhouette, a lovely photograph, or an enamel miniature. Well, Martha could have had an artist paint the picture, or create a silhouette,
Yeah.
or even an enamel miniature. But photography was not invented until 1816. Alas, she couldn't have given George a photograph. Poor George. Let us now go west. It is 1866, and Jesse James is busy robbing banks. He's about to make another daring getaway. In making this getaway, he could have used all of these methods of escape except one. Which one could he not have used? Could Jesse have exited on a bicycle, or a hot air balloon, or a steamboat? Could he have jumped into a horseless carriage? Well, Jesse could have escaped on a bike, or steamed away on a steamboat, or beat the heat in a hot air balloon. But Jesse could not have used a horseless carriage or motor car because gasoline cars were not invented until 1885. But what Jesse probably used was his horse. Now it's time to close the book of Rongovia. The sun is coming up, so it's time to say good night. I bid you farewell with
Oh,
the fun.
with a fund. Hello. All right. Game number 2.
Game number 2.
Yeah, we're not gonna. I'll watch just enough to get a sense of what game 2 was. We're not gonna watch the whole thing.
It's time to play Who's a Whatchamacallits?
A game in which we give you clues,
And you tell us who or what. She's a cover girl who uncovers crime. A marvel when it comes to justice.
Wonder Woman.
She gives bad guys a hand in the form of a fist. No one crosses this Amazon, and no wonder. A patriotic dresser. Her bracelets are a knockout. She's Wonder Woman.
All right. A couple of things. First of all hand-drawn animation, right? Yeah, actually, that the way in which the image was obscured at the beginning of that second game, that the Wonder Woman image, it was all wavy and stuff. What that reminds me mostly of, and these are all analog graphics. None of that was computer generated in the way we think of it today, because that shit did not exist in the 80s at that time. These were kind of manual, analog CGI things. The thing I was going to say that it most reminds me of is the Electric Company from the 70s. Because if you watch the evolution, if you have never watched the Electric Company, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But that was a show about teaching kids to read. And the way in which the letters appeared on the screen, here on my screen, I've actually got, my phone number and my show name over here because it's all computerized. It's very easy to do. This simple thing right here was virtually fucking impossible in like 1971 when the Electric Company made its debut. They got government funding through PBS and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to kind of develop this stuff. The technology improved. They used chroma keys, the old-fashioned blue screen chroma keys, and various other techniques to try and, make the words appear on the screen. Part of a TV show, there was the first TV show really devoted to teaching kids to read, the Electric Company. So all of these techniques were kind of modified news graphics or modified news technique, news graphics techniques, I'm trying to say. In other words, I was reading about the first character generator that I think was created for CBS News, an ability to type in a name that maybe you didn't know at the beginning of the planning stage of the broadcast you were going to need to have on the screen, like for election coverage or whatever. Or to be able to change it, President Johnson, 63%, President, whatever, Ford, 32%, whatever the hell. Like, you need to be able to generate a graphic on the spot right now. And it was the old way of doing it, like in the 50s. If you ever seen graphics on the screen in the 50s, it was it could not have been more old-fashioned. Let me see if I can't pull up an example of like, what's my line from that era? Because what you will see, what it was like hand-drawn art or letters, maybe, typeface kind of things, but it was all done on like what was a plastic sheet or some other kind of art card that was photographed with one camera and sort of half faded or half superimposed over the screen that they wanted. So it took an enormous amount of time. It took an enormous amount of pre-preparation. And, all these in the 70s, those graphic techniques, video toaster type stuff, what they call a mat across the bottom or a chyron these days, or just to be able to say, it, or kind of a thing. It was all very new. It was all very complicated. It was very expensive to have those gadgets that could do that sort of thing in the 70s. And of course, it got cheaper and cheaper and more advanced as the way we know technology does. But that's the original Brain Games that I showed you. Let's look at, I don't know how I got off on this, but I don't really give a fuck. We're going to talk about, let's see here, What's My Line? We're not going to watch an episode of What's My Line, but I just want to give you a sense of the graphics and the way they did it, in case you don't know. Let's say 1955, right there in kind of the wheelhouse of What's My Line. Is there a whole episode? Oh, whole episodes by air date. God, you got to love YouTube, don't you? Here's the first one. All right, let's switch to this here. Okay, wait, go back, because even this opening animation, you can tell, is so totally like hand-drawn and hand-animated that it blows my mind that this was sort of how things were done back then. Where's my selector here? Let me select that screen, and you will see the episode of What's My Line, or the graphics from it that I'm trying to describe. It's just easier to show it to you, and so let me show it to you. Now, here.
Time now for everybody's favorite guessing game, What's My Line?
See that? That's all hand animated.
Stop it. America's leading spray deodorant.
Stop it. Spray deodorant. Poof. There goes perspiration. So you see those letters right there. Poof, there goes perspiration. Did you see it animate there? That had to be hand done. There had to be a frame of it that said nothing. All right, there had to be this. And then there had to be the frame that said just poof, because it has to animate in order, right? Poof, see, there's just the poof, and then it needs to say there. Oh, I see. There goes perspiration. So what there were sort of 3 frames, I guess. The one that was blank with no text, then the one that was just poof, and then they kind of wiped from left to right, and it revealed the words, there goes perspiration. And all that had to be done in a very painstaking
Now let's all play
What's My Line? And let's see if we get any additional graphics here. Oh, did you see that take? That jump to the camera shot, that's old-fashioned as hell.
What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of
Dorothy
appears in the New
Kilgallen.
York Journal American and papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
I thought she was beautiful when I was watching this show regularly.
And on my left, we have a charming visitor and one I know you'll be very glad to see on the panel tonight, that attractive humorist, Mr. Sam Levinson.
Sam Levinson. Okay. I don't know if I know who he is.
On my left, the sweetest thing you can find in a refrigerator, Miss Betty Furness.
Betty Furness, who used to co-host the Today Show back in the 50s.
And on my left, author, publisher,
Bennett
columnist,
Cerf.
and dear man, Bennett Cerf.
Oh, he was a classic. Kind of crotchety even then.
When I walked into the theater tonight, for a minute, I thought I was in the wrong theater. But I'm glad to see a standby along with these two attractive guests.
And, of course, host John Daly coming up here.
Isn't here either. She's up in the clouds somewhere because Ernest Hemingway said she was one of the great reporters of the country. That's praise from Caesar. We also have on our left our old standby who makes the panel seem right. Buncey's father, John Charles Daly.
John Charles Daly. Mr. John Daly.
My daughter Buncey has a new favorite man, and his name is Bennett Cerf. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. We have two good friends with us tonight on the panel, and it gives us a chance not only to test Bennett and Dorothy, but let's see what Sam and Betty Furness can do with some very interesting occupations and some very nice guests. We'll have a famous guest challenger a bit later on, but now I think it's time for our panel of experts to meet the first challenger whose job has to be spotted. So would you sign in, please, ma'am?
Okay, so look at this. They have the graphics stop at there. That's actually physically there on the set. And then
Pearl Snell.
for this person to write their name, they have to do it on a chalkboard with a piece of chalk in order to get any kind of characters on the screen.
Miss Snell, where are you from, Miss Snell?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Fort Lauderdale.
Now, upcoming, you're about to see her line of work fade onto. I'm going to hit pause for a sec. In a sec, you're going to see what she does, the thing that the panel of celebrities has to guess. And it's going to kind of fade onto the screen in a typeset kind of a way. And what you're going to see is what I was describing earlier. There's another camera somewhere where it's trained on an art card. It might be, white on black. It might be black on white and inverted. I'm not sure, but it's kind of half faded. You'll see what I'm talking about here.
The holiday season in New York. Four people sitting over there, they look kind of rough, but take heart. Basically, they're pretty good Joes, and they would like to get a better look at you. So will you take a hike down there for me?
What made the weather so cold down there this year, Miss Snell?
Hello, Miss Snell.
So she goes and
All
meets
right,
the
Miss Snell,
panel.
over here now, if you will, and sit down next to me. And as you may know, the panel having had a chance to meet you briefly, to see your handwriting and hear your voice, we give them one free guess as to what your line may be. We begin the free guesses with Miss Kilgallen.
I think she's an underwater swimmer.
An underwater swimmer, Mr. Levinson.
I think she's the vice president of a piggy bank.
Mrs. Furday.
I think she's a nurse in a shirt hospital.
Whatever.
Mr. Sir.
I think she runs a motel down in Fort Lauderdale.
No, I'm afraid nobody has it. We'll let our viewers have a better
Okay, here we go.
Miss Pearl Snell. At the same time, we'll tell them
See
what
that?
the line is.
You see how it got kind of dark? The actual image of her got darker. It's because there's a piece of card, or maybe it might be one of those like plastic letters, individual, like on a marquee kind of a thing. But they have to sort of have a separate camera filming that and then fade it over this thing. All of this was not easy to do back then. And it took, like I said, enormous planning and enormous work to do it in advance. Now, just for shits and giggles, let's see if I can, and I know these are on there. Electric Company, and I'm not going to do very long of this either, but let's say 1970, let's do 1975 just for shits and giggles and see what kind of things come up. Oh, you know what? We could do the opening credits. Let's see here. Wait, let's do the season 6 opening credits because season 6 had the best opening credits. And I only know that because I'm a geek with this shit. But the music you're going to hear. Now, this is not, now I'm sort of going to deviate from the character generating topic a second, just because the production value of these opening credits is so fucking stellar. And do me a favor and follow along, because what you're going to see isn't just the normal opening credits of a TV show, starring John Daly, starring Tom Brokaw, starring Rita Moreno, or what can I say? Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman and Rita Moreno are both in this show. And you're going to see, now you're not going to see the names because this is a show for kids that maybe can't read or are learning to read. But it's also, they're trying to sort of indicate through visual medium only that these are the characters, and then they fade the character into the actor that is playing them, dressed in a nice suit for the men, a nice dress for the ladies, and they kind of wave to the camera and walk off camera and then dissolve to the next cast member. At the beginning, you will see the 5 kids in the show. They're called the Short Circus, and you're just going to see them jumping. I mean, if you've seen this thing before, you know what this is, but maybe you've never watched it in kind of this analytical production mindset like I am. I'm such a geek. There are other earlier versions of the Electric Company opening credits that are not as good. And again, I say opening credits loosely. You won't see text on the screen except in some of the clips that they're showing of the people in character before they fade to the actor in a suit. But I just get so excited about this stuff. Watch it with me. Enjoy the season 6 opening credits of the Electric Company here. These are the kids, the Short Circus. All right. This is Fargo North Decoder and Skip, the actor that plays him. This is Jane of the Jungle and the gorilla suit guy. And then this is the actress that plays her. Dissolve to Morgan Freeman. That's Easy Reader, not Morgan Freeman. But then fade him to Morgan Freeman. What's up? Dissolve. Hattie. This woman's first name is Hattie, and there she is. This guy's name is Jim something. That's the crank he plays, and then here's Jim. Rita Moreno. I forget this character's name, but there she is. And you're gonna turn it on. We're gonna bring you the power. We're gonna coming down the line, strong as it can be, through the courtesy of the Electric Company. And look up. All right. Whoa. Let's just reanalyze that because I'm going to go a little slower here. I don't know why I'm so fascinated with this shit, but I really, truly am. And part of it is because watch what they're doing. What they're doing is stepping. I'm going to bring it back to me just for a second here because I want to sort of bring it back to me just for a second. What you do is you see them step into the sort of with their back to the camera. You see the back of their head and they're looking at themselves. Now, if you know how this was done, it was done on a blue screen. They step in front of a blue wall and they're pretending to look at themselves. There's nothing up there. They're not in front of a giant Videotron. They're in front of a blue wall with nothing there. And they have to kind of pretend like, oh, look, there's me. And they're dressed on the blue screen shot the same way they're dressed on the thing that's behind them. Look, so you're kind of mentally putting it together. There's Easy Reader running down the street, and then there's Easy Reader rocking in front of a screen looking at an Easy Reader video, right? And then it happens really fast. That's why I'm so fascinated. It dissolves to Morgan Freeman in a suit in the same position with his back to the camera looking at it, and then turning around and going, oh, hey, what's up, camera person? In other words, oh, hey, viewer, good to see you, little kids watching. We're going to have some fun. I mean, there's so much that is communicated without a single bit of text on the screen. I mean, there's text on the screen at points, but it's not relevant text. This is not starring Morgan Freeman that you're seeing on the screen. This is an indication without text that it is, a character. And then here is the person playing the character. And, they're smiling and happy. And then the best part is the last shot, all of them together, the 5 kids in front, the entire cast sort of behind them, including Spider-Man. Did you notice Spider-Man? Spider-Man was a big deal. They did a kind of a blue screen chroma key Spider-Man thing that was not animated. It was corny as hell. Like the production values were, by modern standards, horrendously, hilariously low. And yet it was sort of the most expensive thing you could really do at that point on public television. I just want to watch it one more time and sort of just geek out on it because I'm such a fucking geek with this stuff. And frankly, it's tremendous. out in a new way. This is Fargo, North Dakota. There he is, looking at himself on the screen, dissolve to the guy in the suit, turn around, 3 steps forward to the camera, wave, and walk off. Jane of the Jungle in her hat, dissolve to her in the dress, face the camera, wave, and walk off. I think this is so good, dude. Hey, it's Easy Reader. No, it's Morgan Freeman. What's up? There's the short circus running by. No, it's Hattie Winston, I think is her name, in a red dress. Jim the Crank, or the Crank, and then, oh no, it's Jim. Oh, it's the girl in the dress, whatever. No, it's Rita Moreno, baby. I interviewed her once. Strong as it can be through the courtesy. There, here, this is the last shot, right? This is what I'm talking about. There they are waving, hi, hi, good to see you. There's Spider-Man in the background. And then the Electric Company, and then they all turn around and look above them and behind. And the camera pushes in and sort of gets them out of the shot as it zooms, and then on animates the text of the screen with that drum beat. Oh, I'm sorry. That is some amazing production value, given the age of the audience, given the time it was produced. There's a million things to love about that. And I did not plan to talk about this, but you could tell just from my reaction that I go apeshit for this. And then let's go back to it and look at some of the character generating. Just hit play from that point and see if I can show you kind of what I was talking about, back to putting text on the screen and how it was not easy. And it certainly wasn't, like today.
Today on the Electric Company, the lady asked,
is it nutty? See, and they had to superimpose that, and then they will dissolve to the show production number, which I think is like 38B, 79B. Maybe I can find another bit of Electric Company here where you can see. Okay, oh, I know what I'll do. Let's do one of those songs, like Electric Company, and apostrophe T. Here we go. Oh, God, I love this one. Isn't it a lovely day?
No, it isn't.
Okay, what are we seeing here? I'm going to let you listen to the song in a minute, but look above. That N apostrophe T was there. That's physically there, like on the set. What you're seeing is them in front of a blue screen, and then they have that kind of like house outline thing that he's stepping in front of, she's behind in the window, and then that N apostrophe T is actually there, painted or somehow printed on the set. That's physically there. But the word, the part of the word that changes is superimposed and lined up properly so you can kind of see it and read along. Kids would never think about the production side of this, but I can't stop myself from it. And of course, the song itself is very catchy.
No, it isn't.
Could you come outside to play?
No, I couldn't.
Did you ever take a hike?
No, I didn't.
How'd you like to ride my bike?
Frankly, I wouldn't.
Isn't, couldn't, didn't, wouldn't.
Is that all you can say? Isn't, couldn't, didn't, wouldn't. Yes, now go away.
The sweetest sound to me. It stands for not. I like it a lot. It's spelled
N apostrophe T. I can't help but sing along, I'm sorry.
Have you ever tried to smile?
No, I haven't.
Won't you try it for a while?
No, I won't.
Are there games to play in there?
No, there aren't.
Then why'd you like to stay in there?
Frankly, I don't.
Haven't, won't, aren't, don't. Is that all you can say?
Haven't, won't, aren't, don't.
And I
Said,
said,
go away.
the grouches all agree. We get a glow from saying no. N apostrophe T.
I like when she kisses it.
Do you talk to anyone?
No, I don't.
Come on out, have some fun.
No, I couldn't.
Can't you even tell me why?
No, I can't.
Will it kill you just to try?
Well, I shouldn't.
Don't, couldn't, can't, Should. Now,
Try it once my way. Do, could, can, should. Hey, that feels okay.
So come along with me and give it a try.
Say goodbye to
An apostrophe T.
Bye-bye.
See, I mean, you see what I'm saying with the text. The part that changes is digital, not digitally generated, but sort of character generated onto the screen, and that N apostrophe T never changed. This is my other favorite one, apostrophe S. Oh, God. Spectacular. And the same actress, by the way, Hattie Winston.
Ladies and gentlemen,
So, men, how do you do? I'm going to show you a trick or two.
let's bring out Jim and write his name.
Okay, so we've got her on this set here. We've got this guy in front of the blue screen. And then we're going to see text on the screen that is kind of character generated over it. Oops. This is actually written.
Let's take
Jim, and let's take his hat and do the same. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
What can we add to
The name of Jim to show that his hat belongs to him. Do you know? Yes, we'll take a guess. It's good old apostrophe S. Apostrophe S. Apostrophe S. Shows the things that we possess. Jim's hat. Jim's hat. The hat is Jim's, and that's that. I cannot help myself from singing along. Here comes Mary with a great big pie. Oops, she dropped it. My, oh my.
Write Mary's name quite carefully. Ah, that looks lovely. And then write pie where it should be. So far, so good. Hang on in.
Mary has a pie, so if we were to show that her pie belongs to her, what do we add? Nothing less than good old apostrophe S. Bam! Apostrophe S. Apostrophe S. It shows the things that we possess. Mary's pie. Mary's pie. Okay, Mary. Goodbye. And back to camera one.
So what should you use when your purpose
This is to show that the thing is hers or his.
I guarantee you'll have success with good old apostrophe S. Guarantee you'll have success.
Okay, and then here we go. Now this is, what are we looking at there? This apostrophe S is not character generated. That is something that was physically built, like with a styrofoam apostrophe and a styrofoam S, and somebody's holding it with a blue glove in front of a blue screen. So all we see is the character dancing on the screen. Just look at that. Come on, play. Oh man, I fucked it up. Wait. Back to camera one
When your
here.
purpose is to
Show that the thing is hers or his.
I guarantee you'll have success with good old apostrophe S.
Back to camera two.
Guarantee you'll have success. Good old apostrophe S.
Oh man. And I mean, I could go on and on. Some of it is hand-drawn animation that you're seeing. I'm looking at this list here on the left, or on the right-hand side, I mean. Here's another one that looks like it actually has character generation over the screen. Low resolution, but fun.
Like that, you know? Well, hey, Winnie. Hi. Hi. Hello.
Okay, blah, blah, blah. Can we get to the words
Jane
here?
asked me to the dance. Great. Yeah. Great.
Here we go. Fling. So are you noticing what I'm noticing here? It's not just popping on the screen. It is sort of like, kind of fluctuating onto the screen. See that there at the bottom? It's going to fluctuate on. It's kind of, the word fling is not normal, and it's all multicolored and shit. Psychedelic like the 70s. And then it sort of gains resolution, and it's dancing a little bit like the kids are. Oh, the 70s were another time. Teaching kids to read without computers. Teaching kids to read without computers. I can't believe we're already at the end of my hour. I guess I could go on longer if I feel like it, and I actually totally could. I could go on all goddamn night with this stuff. But I'm fascinated by the old ways of doing it. I bought a book when I lived in Kansas, actually. It was on eBay that I bought this book. It was like the Educator's Guide to Teaching Kids to Read Using the Electric Company. It was an Electric Company book, but it was not for kids. And it was talking about, educational techniques and the ways in which they were trying to do this stuff. And it did not talk about any of the production side of it, really. And I don't have it anymore. God, I actually want to go back and buy it again because of how good it was. But it made me, in 2003, think, you know what we need? A modernized version of the Electric Company with like all of the same songs but hipped up. Now what they did was recreate, they just did another Electric Company, and it's very, modern culture almost requires that it be rap and hip hop be a very big part of it. And so that's kind of how it went. This was not in my dream, of course. My dream was just to have the 70s, have all of this original songs and sort of things that kids learn to read like I did, but without the afros, without the perms and shit. Sure enough, they did it without, that's like saying, oh yes, whose idea was it to renovate Yankee Stadium? Well, it was my idea, except, which idea was yours? The part where they renovate the stadium you don't own, or spending all the money you don't have? It's good shit. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go over my time. A, because of my show was interrupted, but B, I want to finish with the non-CGI thing. This is how I got started with this. We're going to go back to HBO for a second. I'm going to show you the HBO thing again, because if you were watching this clip, you might not have seen. It's very short. It's only about a minute and a half. The HBO in space, it is called. And, if you were watching before, you saw the HBO logo kind of a thing form in space. HBO in space, 1982. There it is. All right, and I'm going to play it again just so you can watch it, and then we're going to watch the little behind-the-scenes thing, how it got created, because holy mother of God, it is just so good. I want the one that's originally from HBO. There it is. I could watch this over and over again, which is why I don't have any qualms about playing it again. And then we'll watch a little bit of the documentary that shows how they made it. You see the camera go through the window backwards and pan right to this model of the city. Real people, by the way, not animated people in that shot. Now these look not cartoonish, but sort of somehow not real. It's like a dream sequence. The twinkling lights over the HBO theater, the buildings with lights in them, some of the lights on, some of the lights off, the suburbs, that church, the van driving. There was a bus earlier, another van, and we pan up into space. You can see the Big Dipper there, and then it explodes. And what's coming toward us? The HBO logo. It's sort of almost like it's a space station, and it's silver, and it's awesome, and it's slow. And we get sort of, it orbits around, and we go into the O. And those red streaks, those rainbow streaks, I mean. And this text, I can hear you saying it on the other side of the computer. Oh, but that had to be computer generated, at least those streaks at the end. Bull fucking shit. Watch this. Oh, man, I'm going to hit mute because I don't want to listen to the commercial. I'm just going to take it off because I don't even want you subjected to that damn commercial. But it's almost over. 5 more seconds, and I'll put this back on screen. And now we get to, I'm going over my time, but I don't care because this is really that good to watch, and I love sharing it, even if it's not mine to share. And let me go here. Let me just play it again because I even like that. That was all manual too, that little opening thing. Here we go. And they're going to play parts of it again. But you'll hear the announcer. What you are looking at.
What you're looking at is one of the most precisely constructed model cities ever built.
Yeah.
It was made as part of HBO's new on-air look and is one of over 60 visual elements that were combined to create HBO's new program.
Did you catch that? 60 visual elements.
There's a peek behind the scenes at how this new look was achieved.
Okay, now you're seeing. Check that out.
When HBO
There's the logo.
Create an opening to introduce our exciting new programming, we didn't want just a sign. We wanted
And
to
did you see that right there? Oh, I can't pause it. Come on. That HBO theater thing was essentially the one we saw said HBO feature presentation in this spot. But look at that. That's not computer generated. It's actual a plastic sheet with graphic art on it. I find this shit fascinating. Not one piece of it. Not even those rainbow streaks, by the way. And we'll see how those were made.
They were tuning in an entertainment center. It all began with an idea at Liberty Studios in New York.
We had to come up with a concept that would be unique, that it would look unlike anything else on cable or on network television. I took the viewer and put him in a home environment, and he turns on his television set, and the camera slowly pulls back and goes out his window, and magically we start this tour and flight as we swoop down through a city.
Well, the thing was that the shoot that they're trying to do, they couldn't do it with an actual city. They couldn't run down the middle of a city with a helicopter or shoot it out of a plane or what have you. So the effect they were trying to get, they had to have a city built, a model city.
Here we go. Look at this. What this is actually a paper mock-up with the same motion control camera to sort of give them an idea of what it would look like. Look at this.
A cardboard mock-up, and we marked off on the buildings detail areas that we felt we would see. From there, we actually architected the building, and we built it up from that.
Look at this. They built these things with plaster.
6 craftsmen worked for over 3 months to create nearly 100 unique buildings for HBO City. The models were all handcrafted with painstaking accuracy. First, they were shaped and molded. They were painted to look weather-beaten, and finally detailed with incredible accuracy.
Oh, look at the little bits. Okay, if there's one thing I don't like about this, it's the Jonathan Livingston Seagull music. That's actually Jonathan Livingston Seagull music.
You really don't know how much detail to put into something like this. But a lot of people take things for granted when they walk down the street or look into a storefront or what have you. But there's something missing. You know something's missing, but you don't know what it is. So you put as much detail in it so the eye picks up every little thing.
There's a working light bulb in every room, in every building, and headlights in the cars and buses.
Foliage, there are hundreds and hundreds of trees, all handmade, all different sizes and shapes.
The model was carefully covered with a tarp, so an artist could paint the 16-foot-tall cyclorama that creates the illusion of twilight.
Check it out. Badass, right? With those lights.
The model is 30 feet long.
30 feet long.
Actually broken up into thirds, your city, your suburbs and your country.
This would be a great place to have children come because it's fascinating. It's better than going to Toyland at Christmas time because this place is just filled with toys of one kind or another.
I like the way we really went into the sculpture on the buildings. We researched that a lot. We tried to see the architecture that's found in many of the cities, and most of it's Victorian.
Victorian
really
homes.
Excelled in finding the detail in the stone carvings on the buildings. We threw a few extras in, seeing if people would spot them. We put a few bums on the street, a few hookers on the corner. Those little things like our calling card. Little things that we wanted to add to the monotony of the 3 months of building this thing.
Liberty Avenue. It's by Liberty Studios.
While some workers were building HBO City, others were constructing the letters that formed the HBO logo.
This part is my favorite because I'm big into like logography and sort of like imaging and stuff, and I cannot believe that even the HBO letters were physical letters that were filmed.
These letters are made of brass and chrome plated. In the finished effect, they appear to be a giant HBO space station floating towards you. It bursts forth following the Stargate effect, a special piece of animation created by David Bruce.
Okay, so you know that Stargate effect had to be computer generated, right? Watch this.
It's actually pretty simple. You might be surprised when you see it on the table. It's 2 pieces of art. They're simply placed on top of one another and offset slowly.
Look at that.
This huge blast.
No computer generation.
With dots that move down and out from the center of the explosion. Shooting at 1 frame at a time, the computer will move them slowly across one another to build up the special effects that you see.
So it's not that there's no computers, the computer does, but the computer controls the camera motion and the motion of the 2 pieces of artwork. And look what it does.
The Stargate effect is combined with a star field, the HBO Chrome logo, and several other components, including a musical score with a 65-piece orchestra.
65-piece orchestra.
Ferdinand J. Smith, composer and producer of the music.
And this guy's named Ferdinand J. Smith. He did that music, which I
trying to achieve
adore.
with this particular project on HBO was that they would have the biggest, most exciting sound on television. In other words, you can see some sitcoms that'll have kind of kind of openings, and wanted all the music to reflect how big and enormous a project this is. 24 hours a day of programming that interests people. It isn't.
Again, in the modern context, that doesn't mean much. 24 hours a day, every channel's on 24 hours a day. Not back then. Even HBO at one time was only like 12 hours a day, and then went to 24 hours on weekends, but not during the week.
Just movie. Another special effect enables streaks of color to race around the O in the...
Okay, those have to be computer generated, don't they? Look at those streaks. There's no way that's not computer animated. Nope.
This is a special effects rig we built to put color arrays into the inside of the Chrome O. Basically what it was is a series of fiber optics built with motors and gears and pulleys so that we can change the color and also move it around.
Well, you know, you can set up a camera out on the street at night, and as the cars move by, their headlights and taillights leave a long streak. It's essentially the same effect.
Reed Paul explains the smoke effect.
And there's a smoke effect I didn't even really consciously
changes.
recognize.
First time we did it, we didn't have plastic in the room. We didn't have masks. We had no control over it. And it looked like a fire. And it smelled like a fire, and when we were done, we did too. What it does is it gives the model atmosphere, so that when you're looking down the street, a block or 2 blocks away isn't quite as sharp as where you are. It made our mountain soft, so when you're in one part of the model, the next part, which is really 5 feet away, looks like it's 100 miles away.
Genius. There's
When
the camera.
model is finally photographed, it is done with a specially designed computer-controlled camera that can perform extremely complicated moves. It is filmed 1 frame at a time and takes up to 14 hours to shoot a scene that lasts only 20 seconds in the finished product.
When you do a model sequence like this, is you shoot it with a motion control system, which was a camera motorized to make moves. And in the old days, you would actually have to go and hand crank everything.
Look at that computer right there. That's the computer that controls the camera. In the old days, they would have had to hand crank it. In this case, it's computerized. And that's what gives it kind of the perfect perfect and magical kind of look.
But now with computers, we have them motorized, and the computer actually does it.
You're going into a trance. If you're inclined to fall for that old hocus pocus, forget it and focus beyond that casual glance.
The last thing photographed is the first thing you see. The actors, portraying typical HBO viewers about to enjoy an HBO presentation. Suddenly, the work, the precision, the endless hours of trial and error all seem worthwhile. The HBO illusion is complete, ready to tease and tantalize your eye.
If you know what you're looking for, the edges of the windows here exhibit a little bit of that kind of dead giveaway of the blue screen, because this window that we're seeing was not on the set with those actors. It's part of it was the windows with just a blue screen behind it, and it was the same camera that filmed the miniature city is the camera that filmed the windows, but the camera that filmed the actors was a different camera. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but you can kind of see the artifacts indicating that there's some chroma key at work there. Up and over the theater. Out into the suburbs. Out into the country. And up. I love it. God, I love that shit. I'm just in awe. Anyway, we don't have to listen to more Jonathan Livingston Seagull there, but I mean, the credits of this show alone are worth watching. Because that little special short, copyright 1982. So yeah, just tremendous stuff. I'm 13 minutes over. I'm going to sign off. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you in about 22 hours and 46 minutes on cBas After Dark.